I wanted to make a little video talking about short-term fulfillment and this thing called eudaimonia. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but a lot of people in bad times or times of need or stress always look for short-term fulfillment, and they think that if they can chase something that can give them some sort of validation or positivity in the short term, that it's gonna take away from all the bad that they're feeling or experiencing. And for me, I think that's the worst thing to do. I think in any sense of a situation where you are struggling or down or anything of that type, a lot of people, myself previously included, have looked to find some sort of instant win, if you can call it that. Something that can almost reassure themselves that they're not in the place that they're in, and give themselves this false sense of trajectory in their life, thinking that, I've had this now, and that means that I don't longer feel this pain or this loss or suffering, and they get caught up in that. And then when the reality hits again of the situation that they're in, it hits harder, and it's a lot more long-standing, because essentially it's a defense mechanism. It's a way humans try and protect themselves from something bad they're feeling and almost delay it as much as possible. And it causes longer pain, and you also lose the ability to be able to deal with something. I think myself, especially, when things have gone bad, I have tried to find some quick, easy way of making myself almost forget what I'm going through. And then when the reality inevitably dawns again, it feels like you've re-experienced the whole thing. It's like going through the initial hurt of that situation multiple times. And like I said, I lose the ability to be able to deal with something negative at all. When something negative comes around, if you've done it so much, you get in that mindset of, you instantly go looking for something that's going to almost invalidate what's happened to you, and that's never going to happen. And I think some people need to give themselves that harsh truth of, you're going to go through stuff, that you're going to experience bad things in your life, and there will be periods of times that it is tough, but experiencing that is what is going to give you that gratitude and the better way of life once you've dealt with that. It gives you skills. It gives you the ability to deal with these things that will inevitably come up. You're not going to go through one bad thing in your life and then nothing ever again. Unfortunately, that's how life goes. You go through bad stuff. That's what makes you grow. It's what makes you become a better person. So I've mentioned before about shifting the mindset into welcoming that and understanding that bad things will happen, but your mindset has to shift to seeing an opportunity in it, in anything. And that kind of ties in with this eudaimonia. I'm not going to say it any more times because I know I'm saying it wrong. But the thought process that Aristotle came up with, that you can't try and live your life based on these little wins that you're chasing to give you some sort of dopamine hit, and maybe, yeah, for half an hour a day you lose track of what you're going through, and then the day after that it hits again, and it feels like it hits twice as much, because you've almost convinced yourself that nothing's happened, and then you wake up in the morning and it's like, I'm still there. It doesn't go anywhere. You're just palming it off. And the idea of living your life with the aim of achieving long-standing, well-built happiness that has real foundations and is built off growth and your experience of the bad is a wonderful thing. And were people to experience that themselves and try and live with the idea of, you have to be present, you have to experience this day as it is and take the good from it and use that to build into your long-standing happiness. That's why you see celebrities that they get their quick come up and their fame, and they just constantly chasing that dopamine, that the women, the cars, the jewelry, the any physical assets that they can get their hands on. And in chasing all of these temporary wins, you'll get to the point where inevitably these things aren't going to be around forever, and then they go, and there you are, left with nothing, having experienced no hardship, or avoiding hardship even, and you end up in this point where you feel completely back to square one, where you've lived with the false ideal that these things that you're chasing or that you're achieving in some senses are going to bring you any sort of happiness, and then they will go, and then you realise that you strip back everything and there's nothing underneath that, there's no foundation. What is your happiness built from? It's never going to be built or started from these temporary physical things, or they don't even have to be physical, but more time they are. And a lot of it is fear. I think for me a lot of it was fear of facing the negativity and the depression and the acknowledgement. And in some senses, you've got to tell yourself that something's going to be bad, but not to be afraid of it. It's not something you should be afraid of. If anything, it's the opposite. Like I said, you should welcome it. You should look forward to it. Obviously, you shouldn't go chasing bad things, because that can't be fun either. But you welcome them in. You don't try and fight them at the door and do anything you can to prevent the acknowledgement or the sinking in of a bad event, because you're just delaying the inevitable. At some point it's going to get in, it's going to find its way in, and you'd much rather deal with it as it comes presently than to kick it to the back, leave it in the corner, and then feel like you're getting your life together, and then bang, hits you again, and it will knock you back a lot further, and you're not prepared for it. If something bad's happened to you, you're in the perfect state right now to deal with it. You're feeling everything you should feel, and everything that's going to help you get out of this thing. And if you can live presently, you can deal with it presently. You're not telling yourself that tomorrow you're going to feel this, tomorrow you're going to be better, worse, anything. Tomorrow, who knows what could happen. That's why, unironically, YOLO is a great term, because you only live once, and you should live like that. Now, every day, anything could happen, and you welcome it in. So although tomorrow might be worse, tomorrow could also be better. And you don't want your past or your future to have any sort of impact on what you experience in the now. It takes away from it. And if you're always chasing something or being chased by something, how are you ever going to get fulfillment? You're not, is the answer. I mean, you can ask yourself that question, but in the long term, you won't. So, moral of the story is, it might be tough, but tackle it as it comes. Live day to day with everything that approaches you, and you get a lot better out of the long term. You know, you don't have to think in the long term. You don't have to think about the future and how will this impact me then, but have the understanding that you're best equipped now to deal with it. You're in the perfect place to deal with it. And chasing these little short-term dopamine hits or successes, or trying to validate yourself instead of acknowledging this, is going to set you up for failure. You know, be real with yourself. If something bad happens to you, it will have some sort of impact on you. And it's up to you how it impacts you. If you deal with it now, if you live presently, you can accept it, find the good in it, and still take every day well, and find the good in things. So sometimes you just gotta be the rock, you know, let it hit you. Let the water flow, and know that it will flow past you. And if you go with the stream, you're gonna stay with that forever. So be present. Chase eudaimonia. I don't know how to say that.